Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Welcome friends once again to our NPTEL MOOC module on health economics. I hope you have been going through correctly, especially in understanding health evaluation and its economic approaches. We are in our second lecture on understanding the economic evaluations of health and healthcare. In this lecture, we are again emphasizing on the monetary and non-monetary measures of health, and especially in the last lecture, we discussed about the type of monetary approaches. We discussed there are two methods broadly understood in the context of monetary approaches. One is called revealed preference approach and second one is called stated preference approach. While the revealed preference is based on economic logic, whereas the stated preference has a psychological foundation. There are various techniques of valuation under stated preference, of which the most used are contingent valuation method, and the second one is called the discrete choice experiment. So, in this lecture we are emphasizing on the non-monetary evaluation or the valuation method. Why non-monetary valuations indeed actually in most of the cases are considered to be dominating as against the monetary outcomes. There are many ways of understanding the non-monetary indicators. So, health status as a measure of outcome will also study, and their evolution from incommensurable to commensurable approaches, and then we will also discuss about HRQOL, that is health related quality of life, and where we will be discussing on some generic description measures to development such as QALY, quality adjusted life year, and also in our context we will emphasize on their QALYs and its definition methods with the latest examples, okay, including the standard questionnaire, those are followed. So, let us go into the details. In the last lecture we came across monetary measures of health, that is RP, that is revealed preference, and SP, stated preference method. Although widely adopted in different areas of economics, it is not the case in health economics, where measures of health improvements dominate instead of the amount of healthcare services. The arguable reasons for this rejection of monetary measures include revealed preference measures are rare in the healthcare market, and use of SP, that is stated preference, is attached to some distrust. Healthcare is indeed a special good where there is widespread rejection of willingness to pay criteria as a measure for resource allocation. It is believed that the CBA is not practical tool for analysis, but CEA, which we already discussed earlier, is as health is more appropriate measure than money. So, let us explore the measures of health outcome that dominate the standard monetary approaches like revealed preference and stated preference approaches. Okay. So, as I already mentioned, as our part of learning goal, we will discuss about its evolution, and this is necessary before learning the tools of health outcome measures. And in the long history of medical research, wide range of output measures have been used. Most of them are certainly useful and sensible for specific purpose. These health outcome measures are largely non-monetary in nature and can be divided into two types: incommensurable and commensurable. There are two type of measures as part of non-monetary valuation. For many years, health was measured using the extreme indicators such as the like mortality or life expectancy, etc. But over the time, it is understood and clearly recognized that these indicate only the presence of disease and impact on an aggregate level, as they are often correlated with a general level of disease. However, there was a need to understand one point that is important: are there any effects of interventions on individuals? This led to the development of intervention based measures. One of the most widely used outcome measure of health is survival rate, which we will explain right now. Here an intervention is counted as success if patients survive a few more years. I mean, that is considered, otherwise it's simply considered to be a failure. And however, this is termed as a crude measure, as it does not distinguish between time period, such as if the intervention caused the patients to survive 1 week or 5 years, both are considered to be success, but the duration and the capture of time is missing, and that is where improvement is required. An alternative to this is life years count, and in this case, when life years count is presented, of course it is contradicting to that of the survival rate which we have taken, where something is again missing, where I am just mentioning here that the numerator in the life years count case is no longer person, but the emphasis on years. All right. The objective indicator that is live data, this explains why increased lifetime is an attractive outcome measure. Even though with little adjustment, survival rate and life years count commensurate in terms of mortality and facilitate comparisons across program areas. However, they are incommensurate in terms of morbidity, is then neglected completely. Morbidity aspect is very important because most clinical trials are related to morbidity. Okay, and there are some examples we can just attach to these morbidity cases, such as in any chronic disease that follows detrimental progression, one would like to identify a specific diagnostic event. Hence, morbidity figures are essential. Hence, some subsequent development and the need to assess both mortality and morbidity that led to the widely accepted and more general concept in this case is called health related quality of life, in short called HRQOL. So, let us explore what is HRQOL and how authors have defined. In definition, the HRQOL is defined as the value assigned to the duration of life as modified by the impairments, functional status, perceptions and social opportunities that are influenced by disease, injury, treatment or policy, mentioned in the writing of Patrick and Erickson 1993. So, the measurement here in this case is to actually address health related aspects. Since the phrase written as health related, no specific health variable is given. Since the related word is attached, hence different countries use different descriptive systems, which are nothing but the standard questionnaires that define the quality of health using various attributes and their respective labels. So, one point to be clarified that these HRQL models use different descriptive system, and they follow a standard of their own standard questionnaire or their attributes. A different descriptive system in healthcare specifically defined health differently, and this is because the healthcare cases are different and their purpose are differently defined. Okay, so the questions those are ATAs, or the descriptive system that is ATAs, is actually in the healthcare it is again varying from questions to question and from country to country. There are several thousands of such currently existing descriptive instruments. A searchable database for these instruments and associated literature is also available in the Big Data Institute of Oxford. You can just follow the link, and some changes are there, you may please try to find out. Okay. And however, the descriptive system can be classified into two categories. One is called condition specific and another is called generic. So far as condition specific is concerned, these descriptive systems are the questionnaires designed to measure health within a particular condition or disease group, such as questionnaires like AQLQ, Asthma Quality of Life Questionnaire by Juniper et al. 1993. Another one is Montgomery-Åsberg Depression Rating Scale, MADRS, that is specifically on depression rating scale and usually 10 dimensional attributes, and each described in 7 levels. 10 dimensional attributes are there, but each indicator or dimension has 7 levels. We will discuss everything, but in a specific context while referring to QALY and DALY. Another index and specific method by Oswestry disability index that is specifically for the back pain patients. Again, it has 10 dimension and there are 6 levels each, and these are widely used descriptive system questionnaires for their respective diseases. As I told you, for different indicator of morbidity, different scales or the indexes are applied. Okay, so although these are useful, condition specific descriptive measures are inapplicable for aiding resource allocation, especially in healthcare. For resource allocation, outcome measures should be able to compare the differences in improved mortality, okay, and compare different types of improvement in morbidity. Then this should account for and then compare the improvements in both, that is mortality and morbidity, and the valuation of improvement should be based on preference of affected people. These are all in the which are a little difficult in the previous case. I think in the later models will be using those aspects. To meet all these 4 requirements, one needs descriptive systems that are more generic in terms of measurement. So, the descriptive systems are largely the questionnaires designed to measure and compare health status across a range of different dimensions belonging to different diseases, as I already mentioned. Here we will give you the real examples where authors used to apply and consider these scales or these questionnaires with their respective dimensions. So, here that is why we have mentioned as most famous descriptive systems, and we will also mention what is their health states and how many possibilities are there. And these like here we have mentioned as EQ5D, formerly known as QOL, and the country of origin is of UK, and there are indeed 5 dimensions: mobility, self-care, usual activity, then pain or discomfort, anxiety or depression. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and each has three levels. So, this is what is referred to. We said mobility, for example, mobility, it has 3 levels: first level, second level and third level. Similarly, when we say self care, okay, so in the question you will find first, second and third level. Maybe the first and second the extreme choices, not happy, happy, or maybe the neutral. We will give you the exact example here. We are carrying with the questionnaire. I will just show you. This is how the labels are defined, okay, and the specific questions are defined. I will come to it. So, I am just presenting how one can think of different labels by different dimensions, and that is why I am just mentioning, or sometimes you can go by different scales. Okay, another one is called quality of well-being, QWB by US, and especially in the EQ5D case, there are 5 dimensions and 3 levels. So, each case 3 times. So, that means for each indicator there are 3 choices. Okay. So, possibilities in a worksheet would be of 243 because of its 3 to the power 5. Okay. So, 3 into 3 into 3 into 3 5 times if you multiply, you will find all possibilities of 243. Similarly, for other cases, especially in the Finland case, that is considered to be a bigger one, having huge health states. Health states may, like when I say why these are all possibility, I will just show it to you. Euro QL, suppose. When I say mobility, there are 3 indicators. When I say self care, there are 3 indicators. Likewise, each one is having 3 indicators. One might be for one single person, one might declare that I have no problems walking about. Okay. So, and in another case, in another question, one might pick up these. So, in another case, the same person might pick up these, some person might pick up these, some person might pick up these. Alright. So, in that case, this is just one combination. Similarly, out of all 5, you will find a person is carrying many combinations, so many combinations. So, each combinations is presented like every time it will be, since 5 types are there. So, it will be 3 to the power 5, and in total it accounts for a total number of health situations or the states is of 243. Similarly, in the 15 dimension case of the Finland, so it will be of course 5 to the power 15. Okay. So, 5 to the power 15 is expected to be of this number. So, and other famous descriptive systems are mentioned. One is from Canada, another is from Australia, etc. We have explained all these things here. So, is just having a generic descriptive system as a health state measure enough for resource allocation, or is there more to it actually? Certainly, there is more to it. 2 problems with generic descriptive systems are, that is in the generic system provides provide only states, that is quality of life, or ignores quantity, that is the duration. However, any meaningful metric of health would have to include both quality and quantity. If the health state measure simply consists of a set of dimensions that have different labels, it is simply termed as health profiling or health profile. Health profiles better than the condition specific is they allow intra-level comparisons, and within a dimension, however, they do not provide comparisons between the dimensions. So, the example for this would be like from the sickness impact profile, which you can refer to the paper of Bogner et al. 1985. So, therefore, health profiles provide strong descriptive values, but the problem is profiles may not identify whether one health state is better than other. We are citing the example here. If a researcher uses a generic descriptive questionnaire, that is the EQ5D, which I have already cited, that contains 5 dimensions starting from mobility, self care, usual activity, pain, then pain or discomfort, anxiety or depression. So, each contains 3 levels. Okay. Each one is having 3 levels, hence the and each level might be no problem, some problem or extreme problem, etc. Here, if someone's health profile states as per this example which you have given, okay, if that is someone health states is mentioned as 21111, that is 21111, this means the first aspect is related to the mobility, okay, and that is picked up as 2, so it has some problem, okay, and with mobility, and then 1, that means no problem, and similarly for others it is 1, you can just see 1 means no problem. Okay. So, 21111 refers to the persons is having problem with the health profile. So, if we have another case with another number, maybe 22111, that means first health related there are somewhat some problem is noted. The second case also there is some problem, okay, that is somewhat some problem is noted. This indicates that it has some problems with self care as well along with mobility. However, we cannot cannot say the given profile, that is 21111 here, is better than that of 12111. 2 stands for in the self care case there are some problem, but in the mobility case there is no problem. So, these two cases, this one and this one cannot be compared actually by any magnitude. Okay. So, we cannot say which one is better. So, because of the case that they have some qualitative reflection in different variable. In such comparison, what one requires is actually an index. Okay. So, to overcome this problem, so the index will provide a singular value instead of a series of indicative information as mentioned the dimensions. Such index will not only solve the 2 problems found in a generic descriptive system, but will also fulfill 4 requirements needed for resource allocation, okay, which already we mentioned. So, the sample of that EQ5Ds is presented here. You can also go through the website which you have suggested for reference, otherwise you just search in Google, you will find out these details. So, the index is required. So, we will take the help of quality adjusted life years, that is one such index will give you a value, okay, which we already said that I mean instead of description we require a singular value. Okay. So, quality adjusted life years is initially referred to the work of late Alan Williams, who was a leading proponent of QALY, and then who presented the sophisticated measure of health. And the initial developers were actually Fansel and Boos 1970 and Torrance 1970 in the same year. So, for any individual there are 3 possible health gains. Either we say improved HRQOL or longer lifetime or increased probability of survival. Okay. So, rationale for this QALY is to account for all these 3 possibilities related to health gains, and this will also account these 3 possibility into one currency or unit, and therefore, making it as commensurable. So, what are the steps of QALY then? QALY basically it counts for the product of Q times T, and where Q stands for the quality of life and T stands for the time in the health. So, the steps we are just mentioning in part 1, part 2, we are calculating first the length of time, then we will calculate the quality of life, that is Q. So, from the different descriptive system, we will get the indicator and their profile, and then we will select the appropriate non-monetary valuation method, and then we will compute Q. Finally, to use the obtained values of T and Q in the given formula, so we will actually use it for the index, that is QALY. While calculating T depends on available data, and Q calculation requires the use of different valuation approaches. Those will be discussed later. So, QALY is measured as a product of average health related quality of life, okay, and lifetime in that health. Hence, QALY is actually a product of Q and T. We have already clarified. However, the Q which we derive from the average health related quality of life, again from the HRQL, measured in a scale of 1 to 0, and T is the time for health or lifetime for in that health, counted in actually in years. So, 1 year in full health, that means 1 QALY, and using both Q and T, QALY can be presented using the expected lifespan. This is what is presented in this diagram. You can just see. So, the Q is ranging from 0 to 1, and the T is in the horizontal axis, Q is in the vertical axis, and this is where we are mentioning the expected lifespan till this ends with the time of death. So, natural path of biological deterioration occurs after a certain period of time. Every time we will have some deterioration, but the major fall occurs at the later age. Hence, there has been a sharp fall. Okay, so the shape of lifespan for an average person varies across countries, and the gains accordingly measured through QALY. Let us consider an intervention that improves the health state with the health state which I have just presented here in the diagram. Okay. Is it possible to be improved? Yes, of course, it is possible if you have some intervention by having either through quality of life, that is Q, or through longevity, that is T. Okay. So, if we are changing the delta Q, okay, so that is precisely G minus Q. Okay. So, presented as change in or improvement in the QALY. So, gains is actually G, and Q is the original quality of life. Okay. So, we have already discussed this. I am just counting for your clarity. Yes. So, let us move further. Here this is how it improves when we have given the T. I said once again, given our T is not changing when we are actually emphasizing or intervening through the change in Q. So, our lifespan might actually be shifted and improved. Alternatively, we can also change, this is what it is mentioned as delta Q. Alternatively, we have a possibility of improvement in the longevity through change in the time in terms of lifetime. So, in that case it will be delta T. Hence, there will be a paradigm shift in terms of the lifespan, and we might find a better possibilities, and that is corroborated by the change in T. Hence, what we are concluding from this example is that a program that improves health quality, that is delta Q, or that is in terms of morbidity. So, health quality in terms of morbidity, whereas delta T is in terms of mortality. So, becomes, that is delta Q becomes commensurable in terms of health outcomes with a program that improves longevity, that is delta T, and in that case it is delta T in the most cited case is referred as mortality. There are also interventions that improve both, both as explained in the diagram, both quality as well as length of life, and this can be formulated as Q1 T1 minus Q naught T naught, and Q naught is our HRQL without treatment, and Q1 is our with treatment. Similarly, for the lifetime changes. We are giving an example here for your better clarity. Suppose an individual aged 50 whose life expectancy is to 65 and has a health issue that keeps his health state below full health, and let us it be 0.7 for 5 years. After 5 years his health state deteriorates further to a level of 30% or 0.3 for the next 3 years before succumbing to the death. So, then let us calculate QALY. So, in that case simply QALY is Q times T, and we have already mentioned it is in the fraction 0 to 1, Q varies from 0 to 1, and T in the year, absolute years of lifespan. So, here we said Q is for the full health state is 0.7 and hence it is actually 3.5 QALYs. So, for 5 years of with health issues, 3.5 quality adjusted life years. Then after 5 years as health deteriorates, we have already given the context that there is a 0.3 case of deterioration, that is Q actually now after 5 years it is of 0.3, and for the next 3 years that 0.3 is for the next 3 years, hence 0.3 times 3 is equal to 0.9 QALYs. So, for this entire 5 plus 3 years, that is 8 years, is of adding these two, that is 3.5 plus 0.9, hence it will be of 4.4 years. Okay. So, this is what one clarification we have given. You can calculate, and how authors really calculate QALY. I think it will be useful for you, and I am just giving another context and example for you to calculate. We are also specifying the answers for you. That is, suppose after the first 5 years of health issue, which from the same example, the individual finally decides to consult a doctor. Now, we are actually taking an intervention, and this intervention results in increasing his health state to 0.9 now instead of 0.3, now actually 0.9 remaining time or his expected life. Now, calculate the new QALY and the total QALY, and the answer would be actually 12.5. You can just see the new QALY will be, of course, it is 0.9 times its years, and this one will be by adding both the context, okay, that is 12.5 years QALY. So, in this is I mean we are now discussing the theory to practice. It all seems fine in theory, but how in practice do we obtain, how we get reliable figures to put into this formula. So, to answer this we need to understand the steps calculating QALY. As stated already in part 1, we calculated T, that is length of life, normally obtained from mortality tables or the survival rates, while the probability of success outcomes might be given by operational mortality rates. The measurement of T enables comparison on an interval scale that is 10, that is 2 times 5. So, similarly, we need Q in part 2 to be measured on with interval properties. This requires using the descriptive systems we just discussed before, and for the choice of system, economists usually go with the one that is recommended by national evaluation guidelines. Researchers in UK prefers EQ5D as the descriptive system, most important descriptive system as per their National Institute for Health and Care Excellence NICE guidelines. So, you can prefer EQ5D, which has 5 dimensions and 3 levels each. So, once the generic descriptive system is decided, this provides us the health state indicator or health profile. Then the next step is to determine how do we measure and value various combinations of health, like such as the non-monetary values with the select generic health systems. There are several alternative techniques available to do so. Moreover, like the descriptive systems and monetary evaluation techniques like revealed preference and stated preference, these are also questionnaire based method. Here, using a particular technique, respondents are asked to place a value on one or more health states. As these techniques are interesting and useful, hence we will be touching upon this in our next lecture. So, that is all for the lecture. Let me summarize it in short. In this lecture, why willingness to pay using revealed preference and SP were rejected as a measure of health. Okay, you can also prepare for your assignment questions, and a non-monetary evaluation of health, and there are I mean health status is a measure of the history of development, and there are types we discuss: incommensurable and commensurable outcomes, health descriptive systems, there are calculations, limitations, and even in their profile measurement to estimate measurement we gives estimation and limitations, etc. We also touched upon the discussion of QALY, the objective methods and example. So, in the next lecture we will discuss about health state valuation techniques for computation of QALY, and the alternatives to QALY such as DALY and HLY, etc. will be emphasized. So, these are the readings. So, I suggest please follow, and there will be number of questions derived from these units. With this I must thank you for attending.